Hello, everybody. weebrabbit here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 48. Now, as we had mentioned, or I guess you can say alluded to in the previous couple of episodes, this is going to be a very special episode because it is the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. Yes, we started it a year ago, right around Halloween time, and we have gone a whole year and we are back here again. And so, yeah, we're just gonna, I don't know, kind of celebrate a bit during this episode, discuss some different things. And yeah, it feels good. It feels cool to reach that milestone, you know? Of course, I'm not alone. My co-host is here, the legend of Jonathan. Say hello.
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm back. I'm happy that, we finally reached our 1-year anniversary. That's crazy, And yeah, I'm excited to be talking about some crazy stuff right now. You know what I mean?
Yes. It feels like time passed by really quick.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at I guess I can say through like the library of some of the episodes and stuff, right? And there's like some topics we talked about that I'm like, damn, that's so crazy that like in the first episode, for instance, you talked about 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐬.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that I that was like literally a year ago that it had just come out and you were watching it and you were talking about it. And then after that, I mean, think about how the first season came and went, and then you even watched like the dub, and you talked about being excited for like the second season and like all that stuff. It's so weird to think about, right? That like, damn, a whole year already
Yeah.
passed by. Some of the topics is like, oh, there's this thing that's gonna come out, soon. There's that thing that's gonna come out soon, and then all of these things that like already came out that we had mentioned, and like it's just really crazy how time just keeps going. It really kind of does blow your mind, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, what I was gonna say, I think we're gonna keep it pretty chill. Once again, we're not gonna really do like the news or our weeks too much. There's one thing I know we're gonna talk about because it kind of fits with the whole theme of Halloween and this season. But we're just gonna keep it pretty chill. I think the first thing we want to talk about, besides the whole wow, it's the 1-year anniversary and we're happy to reach that milestone. Yeah, I think we're just gonna reflect on the podcast. We're gonna talk
hmm
about our thoughts on it. I think that's one thing we want to do. So I guess a good place to start is, what do you remember that we've talked about that you really enjoyed? Like, what was a topic that you really enjoyed, if you can like kind of think back?
Um, I feel like this is something that reoccurred over the podcast, but what I enjoyed is when we would talk about the presentations that, not just Nintendo, but like Sony and Microsoft have done, us giving our opinions on them, the things that we've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
hyped about, like the games that were announced or what was stupid about said presentations, stuff like that. I actually thought that was really fun.
Yeah,
Bec-
I think those are always a pretty good time, and it was always kind of fun when we would be like, that's it for this week, guys. But we'll see if next week maybe the Nintendo Direct will drop and we'll be able to talk about it next
oh
week.
yeah,
And then it would happen. That was always kind of fun,
that
honestly.
was
Yeah.
always fun too. And then we would actually be able to talk about it. Yeah,
Yeah, I really like those two. I gotta admit, I always like when there was like big events and stuff to cover. Those are always pretty fun to just look at, discuss different things we liked and different things that you said we didn't like, and those always were pretty fun.
hmm
I also liked it happened here and there when there would be like a movie that would come out and we would be like, oh man, I just went and watched like the movie basically like opening day or like the day after. And we would talk about
hmm
like different movies that we saw. That was always kind of fun, just being able to like discuss our thoughts and oh man, I was excited for the movie and I liked it, or it was okay, stuff like that. That was always pretty fun as well. I really like being able to just express that.
yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah. Um, we haven't done it in a while. I thought it was kind of fun whenever there was a few where we recommended like, hey, go check out this YouTube channel that I thought was like really cool. Like,
Hmm
oh, this YouTube channel does really good, what do you call it? Like retrospectives. This one is really good. at like animations and stuff. And like it's been kind of a bit, but some of those were pretty fun. Just thinking about it, where it's like, yeah, it was really cool just being able to share with some people, hey, go check out this channel. That was pretty cool. I don't know if anyone that's listening to this ever like did go check out some of those channels. I would hope they did, because the stuff we talked about definitely like deserve the attention. But yeah, that was
Hmm.
always really cool. Um, yeah, just thinking back, once again, it's just been a good time. I know that this is episode 48, and I think I mentioned that, if we had done one every week as planned, this would be like episode like 52 or something.
Hmm.
But it's still pretty good that we only ended up missing a small handful of episodes. The fact that we were able to be pretty consistent is pretty good, honestly. Like we
It
were able
actually
to keep,
is.
yeah, we were able to keep the consistency up, which is really cool. So I'm pretty proud of that. And yeah, like I said, just looking back through like the library, seeing stuff we talked about, these different topics and stuff. Yeah, I just had like a really good time. I really like just talking about all these different things, sharing this different news with the audience and stuff. It's been a good time.
Hmm.
I've I've had a good time just being able to just like talk every week about these different things.
It's been really fun actually, yeah, doing all that. And I think it's cool that, yeah, like not just like the movies, but like the shows, the animes, the video games. Whenever there's something like new each month or week, we both get the time to like actually check it out and like be able to talk about it. And then like if it's like a movie, yeah, we'll be able to like kind of give a movie review basically.
Yeah, like it was pretty cool. Like the Mario movie was gonna come out. We talked about that. Like that was so cool because it just felt like such a big thing.
Hmm.
And then I was gonna say, yeah, it's been cool just like being able to talk different anime for like the different seasons. Like, oh, this season, maybe like sometimes I would say ahead of time, like, oh man, I know that like this thing's finally getting an adaptation, and I'm excited, like check it out and see how well it does. And then actually watching it and being able to say, like, yeah, I watched the first episode, it was like this. And then, the next week, oh, the second episode, it added a bit more and it went like this and like that. And then, like
Hmm.
I'm really excited to like watch this now. And the way I usually do it, I cover like two, maybe three episodes, kind of give my opinion on how those first few episodes went. And then like at the end of the season being like, yeah, this is how it went. Like I was really happy, like the whole season went really good. Or oh man, those first episodes are kind of good, but it kind of sucks. Like the whole thing wasn't like that great. Like it's just what again, just being able to share. I think that's the part I really like, just being able to share, whether it's like a movie opinion, a recap of how like the anime for the season went, share, my thoughts and feelings about like the different directs and stuff. I just always think it's a fun time.
Hmm.
Yeah, the only thing that is kind of disappointing, obviously, it's been a bit of a struggle to like grow the audience.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Especially for people, anyone listening to this, they know that I haven't really been putting out any like videos for like this month because just a bunch of stuff happened, was really busy, and just kind of put me off. And then after that, we hadn't recorded for a while. So for anyone wondering, basically what happened is kind of ran out of content. Like I had to really put a lot of stuff out. I was really busy. Luckily, at this point that we're putting this out, I have recorded with Terrific quite a bit. I've recorded a bit with, Legend of Jonathan.
Hmm.
And so I'm working on editing that stuff so I can have like a stockpile of videos. And basically, shortly after this, podcast goes out, videos should start going up again.
Hmm. They
And
should be.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, it just kind of sucks though, because I know that this month I've lost like a few subscribers, which it feels like any subscribers I gain feels like it's like a hard earned, thing. Like I always want to grow the fan base more. And so like losing any feels like a big deal. So it kind of sucks to have lost some subscribers, but we'll see what we do. Hopefully, once I start putting videos out again, hopefully, subscribers, will that'll start to build up again. But yeah, it's just been really difficult, and it kind of sucks that I just really wish that more people engaged with the podcast. More people commenting, more people liking, more people just interacting with it. It just feels like it's been kind of rough. So
Yeah,
I
I've
don't
noticed
know.
that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's just YouTube in general is just like that. I don't know. It feels like it's kind of in a weird spot right now where it's hard to put out content. It's hard to see people engage with it. I think people really are used to kind of like either like stuff that's like really long, like video essays that they kind of just put like in the background and listen to, or stuff like really short content that's really easy breezy they engage with, and anything in the middle just seems to not do that well, so it kind of sucks. But I don't know. My hopes for the future is that hopefully we can keep doing this, hopefully we can keep it consistent, hopefully we can see if more people start to get interested, maybe some more like promotion of the podcast. I'm not really too sure. uh I don't know. And I've always thought, I know that our podcast has like a little intro song, and then kind of when we finish, it kind of just ends. I would love to hopefully starting soon add like a little outro song. I think would be kind of interesting. And then I'd like to maybe do more interesting art, maybe. um I don't know, for like the thumbnails, I don't know if that really matters when it's a podcast, or at least maybe something a little more interesting for like the YouTube version of it when it's like, some interesting stuff on screen for people who are watching. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to say some changes is something I've kind of thought about and wondered about,
Yeah.
maybe like, adding a little bit more to it, make it a bit more interesting now that we're, reaching like the second year of the podcast, maybe add some new stuff to like, you know, uh, just polish it up a bit. You know what I mean? That'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, my hopes are that more people will listen and more people will engage with it, but we'll have to see how that goes. Like I said, YouTube in general is just it's kind of hard right now, I guess. It feels like a lot of audiences already exist. So it's kind of hard to like break out, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you? What do you think? Is there anything that you think would be kind of cool to add to the podcast? Like we have a little segment where like, we do our weeks. We have, like the segment where we touch upon news. We have a segment where we do some sort of a recommendation, right? Or sometimes we like focus on a certain like kind of topic to talk about, like a certain theme. Is there anything you think like, oh, I think it'd be kind of cool if we added this to the podcast or that?
Um, I mean, this is where it gets kind of difficult because the first thing I'm gonna say is more easier, but I think we should do is, you know how you said you wanted to add like maybe specific art to like the YouTube one?
Yeah.
Maybe for like because it's a video technically, whenever we talk about specific segments of our week, maybe it transitions to a picture of whatever we're talking about. And so like
Mm.
the person kind of knows like, oh, this thing's important. So this picture's on screen. And then like let's say you're talking about what's the name of the anime? The one where like it's about the girl that's unlucky or whatever.
Oh, like
Um
undead unluck.
Undead Unluck. It would like transition to a picture of that. And then let's say the next thing I talk about is like, even though this isn't even out yet, Dragon Ball Daima. It'll show like a picture of Dragon Ball Daima. And it'll like literally be me talking about it. And then like when you get to like the topic, it transitions to well the topic. You know what I mean? Maybe something like that where like it keeps it consistent where the person like it's not just one picture on screen. Maybe it like changes to something else so that the person like you know what I mean? Like it changes it up a bit. I
Yeah.
don't know. And then the second one, which I mean, that's gonna be a work in progress, to see if maybe we can have like people on the podcast other than us too. You know what I mean? Kind of like Terrific or something.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. It's just one of those things that's kind of hard because of like
Hmm.
timing and schedules lining up and even finding guests. Like who would we even like have on here? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but yeah, I like the idea. Like another one I've thought about that it would be a dream if the podcast could ever like again, people are engaging with it. People are like watching it and like really I think it'd be cool. Like I know some podcasts have like mail that people send in, like messages,
Oh
like
yeah.
questions and stuff. I think that would be really fun. But again, it's just kind of like we need like an audience that's really engaging and really interacting and really,
Hmm.
interested to even like ask stuff. And again, I feel like we're just not really there, which kind of sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
So a lot of stuff that yeah, it feels like we really have to build it up. And the thing is, I just don't know how because like okay, we're being consistent, we're putting episodes out, but like I guess we need to like promote it more. We need to like I don't know. I don't even know how though, like but we need something to like put it out there more. And I just don't know because you think that putting like tags in the videos would work or I don't know. It doesn't seem to really make a difference. So it's just stuff to kind of look into and maybe even like find like a kind of you can almost say like a pro and be like, hey, how can we like get this farther out? How can we get it like in front of more listeners, more viewers? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the kind of hopes I've had too, like having like guests and people asking like questions and yeah, the one you talked about that probably would work, make it maybe a little more interesting. Like that's how kind of talk. That's kind of what I meant, like polish it up a little bit, add some stuff to it. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it involves more editing. Obviously, it involves more work. But
Hmm.
yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
definitely interesting to see what I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? But yeah, at least like I said, at least for now, I've enjoyed doing the podcast. I've always thought it's really fun. I think that's really cool. Like I say, sharing and discussing all these things and hoping people check it out and what I mean, all that good stuff. So at least I'm enjoying it. It hasn't been like, oh, it feels like it's a total bummer to like do, and like I'm not sure if I'm like feeling like not up to it anymore. Like I'm still
Yeah.
feeling up to it. I'm still enjoying it. So I don't know. I guess as long as you're enjoying it, that's what matters. And keep just trying to do whatever we can to like spice it up. And I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with the audience and if it grows more or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was gonna say, I think this is a good spot too, even though we're not really gonna like say we're not gonna really touch too much upon our weeks. Again, I think next week is when we'll be back with all that stuff. But there is something I know we both want to talk about because it's like super new and we went to go check it out. And I
Yeah.
guess it'd be kind of fun to talk about. So yeah, basically what we want to like discuss real quick is that right now, the big thing that's trending right now, the big, talk is that the Five Nights at Freddy's movie came out. And
Hmm.
yeah, I know that we both ended up watching it. So I thought that was kind of cool to me just like touch upon that for a little bit.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, story wise, I think it's pretty obvious for anyone who's, played or watched like a Let's Play or whatever of, Five Nights at Freddy's. Pretty simple. There's this guy, he's a security guard, and he's kind of struggling because he has to take care of like his sister, and he has like custody of her, and he seems to really have a hard time, keeping a job. So he ends up getting a job as a security guard for a restaurant that's abandoned called Freddy Fazbear's. And when he gets there and he's, working the night shift or whatever, he finds out that yeah, there's some weird stuff going on where there's these animatronics that they kind of come to life at night and you gotta be really careful because they might hurt you. They might they might kill you or whatever.
They might stuff you in
And
a suit. Yeah.
yeah, they might stuff you in a suit or whatever that'll like kill you in the process. And
Hmm.
basically it's all about that, it kind of follows the lore to an extent of that first game because it's a whole series of games.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's not really much to say. That's kind of like the basic premise. It's pretty simple. And I was just gonna say, um, I guess it'll be mostly spoilers because like the premise is pretty simple. Like, it's more of like what actually happens in it, like the spoilers and stuff that like is the big discussion. But
Hmm.
before that, just real quick, just give a little overview. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think it did a good job of like adapting the game slash games? Like, what did you think?
Okay, so me, I'm not a huge fan, but I was a fan before. So at the same time, I kind of, this is where it does get kind of good, my opinion. I did like it. I did feel like it adapted the plot pretty well to an extent because, they had to add some stuff, they had to remove some stuff, stuff like that. Um, but I thought it was pretty good. And I don't know, like there really isn't really much to say because then from there, I have to kind of get into detail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think it's pretty well because you can tell that it's like it's trying its hardest to be so simplistic without having to go into like the more complicated plot twists from like the games. That's how I'll say it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of,
Right now
yeah.
we can touch up we can get more in detail. Yeah. I know
Hmm.
I already know what you're probably gonna
Yeah.
say. Yeah, yeah. For me, likewise, I had seen a lot of reviews online where a lot of them is just people being like really negative about it. And I'm not gonna say it's the best movie in the world, like at all, but it's also not like terrible. Like people were acting like it
Hmm.
was like the
Hmm.
worst movie they've seen, and like, oh
Yeah,
my
it was so
God, it's like
dumb.
yeah, and for me, it's just like it's very middle of the road. Like again, it's not great. I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, it's a must see. Like go watch it. Like it'll like change your life and like gets the best like video game adaptation ever. Like no, I'm not gonna like say that either. But acting like it's like this terrible movie and like all the hate it's getting, I feel it's a bit overblown.
I same because the way I would say is that like most of the people who have ended up liking it a lot have been obviously like the fans. And so the way I'm gonna like kind of say is like if you're gonna be someone that's like, oh man, I'm like a film critic, just don't touch the movie. Like that's how I'll say it. Just don't touch the movie at all because it's not gonna be your cup of tea. But if you're someone that's like a literal fan of the games, you're definitely gonna end up liking it. You know what I mean?
I
And then
mean, maybe because I've seen a few people who like the games that have also been kind of, about it.
mhm.
So I wouldn't like say like, oh, you'll love it if you're a fan, because that might not necessarily be true either. People,
But
like
I
I
think
think,
most of the time, most of the people.
for instance, the thing that I do agree with without getting to the spoilers yet, I do think it was a bit light on like horror.
Hmm.
I think they could have done a bit more with the horror. You know what I mean? Again, I do get it because it is something that's kind of like aimed at like kids. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people. That's why I think a lot of people are getting like all ridiculous. They were acting like they want it to be like I don't know what. Where it's like it is like a thing aimed at kids. Like kids have always been and still are like the biggest fans. Like they're the ones that like buy like the
The merch.
costumes and the merch and watch let's players play it and stuff like that. It's not like oh my God, like it's always been like it's not like we're talking about like freaking Resident Evil where like that has been a thing that's like rated M and it's for like an older audience, right? So it does feel kind of silly to be like, oh my God, it's weird that it was aimed at like kids and it's very, I mean, like no crap. It's like that's kind of who the audience is, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, like what are the games rated, honestly? I'm
Rated
kind of
T.
yeah, I was gonna say because they're rated T, right? Like it's not like again, it's not like, oh my God, they're like these M games, and I can't believe they really toned it down. Like that is silly, right?
Yeah, because
Like
I
they
think.
are all rated T, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to check. I'm
Hmm.
trying to kind of Google it as we speak. Let's see, where would be one of the games? Just pull it up. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up real quick because I'm pretty sure, yeah, they've always been like T. I don't think it's like, oh my God, like any of them have been like M. And so this is like really toned down. Trying to see what are they rated? How would I even find it? There we go, rating. It's giving me the ratings like for like Metacritic and stuff. Let's see. Oh my God, why is it so hard to find the ratings for a game sometimes? It's so weird. Da. How do you find it? I keep getting like ratings as in like stars. Like, oh, Metacritic gave it this and
Yeah, I'm looking at
IGN
it
give it
too.
yeah, how do you find like the rating?
Okay, so I mean, apparently this was 8 years ago, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says because this is the official like a Reddit post thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, ESRB ratings for FNAF. T for all of them. Two might actually be E10 plus. And that's it.
Yeah, because I'm looking at Security Breach right now. That one for sure is T. Uh
Oh, FNAF 3, I think, is the only one that's like rated M or something like that.
really?
because I think that's the one where they like there is a few curse words, I think, and it is the most like blood related one or something like that
Interesting.
because of the whole, from that game. That's why.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm looking right now, like the PS4. Apparently, you know how they've put a lot of them as a collection and like
Hmm.
re-release them enough. I mean, it says like the collection. It says rated T. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I feel like the majority of them are T, or like you said, like E10. Like, I don't feel like it's like, oh my God, I can't believe like these games that are usually rated M, they these games are usually rated M. I can't believe that they tone them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then what I was gonna say too about the movie is like even then, like I remember people were hyping it up, including a friend, where she was like, "Oh man, I've been such a fan since I was like 9, whatever, right? And that it's gonna be like really scary, blah blah." Blah. I even looked at her and I'm like, "Bro, it's probably gonna be really goofy, I guarantee you." And like it's
Yeah.
because like for some reason I had that gut feeling, and when I went to watch it, I'm like, "Yeah, this movie was not gonna be that scary." Like it was like you could tell they were
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
more lighthearted. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're still getting kind of off topic because the whole point I
Hmm.
was trying to make is that well, number one, that yeah, I think it's really silly when the people are acting like, oh my God, I can't believe that it was like, aimed at kids. Like, well, yeah, no, duh. It's always been kind of aimed at kids. But even that aside, though, what I was trying to say is that um I still think it still could have used a bit more horror though. Because
Hmm.
even something that's rated PG-13 can still be a bit like scarier. They just wouldn't have like the gore, right? But yeah, I did feel like it was a little light on the horror. So that's why getting back to like my whole, point was that I do think it was kind of like in the middle, how I feel about it, because I do think it could have had a bit more horror. I think that would have helped. But once again, I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. I think that some of the arguments they're using, like the whole, like, oh my God, it was so toothless and it feels like it was aimed at kids. It's like, well, yeah, no, duh, is what I was trying to get
Yeah.
at. Yeah. Getting into the actual, I guess, spoilers now, because, that's what I'm saying. I feel like we kind of need to get into spoilers because if not, there's not really much to like discuss because a lot of it's like details. So getting into the details of it, it was pretty obvious that the guy, what was his name, Steve Ragland or whatever, the guy,
Yeah.
the career counselor guy that gives Mike Schmidt his job, who's played by Josh Hutcherson. It was pretty obvious he was going to be Michael Afton. Like
It
everybody
was
knew that.
obvious.
I
Everyone
mean,
knew that,
William.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, yeah. It was pretty. I mean, Willem Afton. I said Michael Afton.
Hmm.
It was pretty obvious he was going to be Willem Afton. It was super obvious. Everybody knew it. Like and it does seem like the movie tries to treat it as like a big old like twist at the end. It's like no, everybody knew it. Like come on.
Hmm. Because they
Like
even like told everyone before. They even told everyone before. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna be William Afton." Like everyone even said that, and
yeah,
then
yeah. So it's pretty funny. Like come on, man. It was pretty obvious. So I do think it was kind of funny they try to treat it as like a big old spoiler. But that aside, though, I do think that the person playing, Steve Ragland slash Willem Afton, he did like I think he did a pretty good
oh, he
job.
did super well. I
Yeah,
liked it.
yeah, I thought it was really fun. It kind of sucks that's another thing that's kind of like a minor, complaint. It sucks that he wasn't in the movie very long. He was like very minimum. I think it would have been kind of fun that even if maybe they didn't really want to show his face, like supposedly to like ruin the secret or whatever. I still wish they could have shown him more, maybe than as a in his Springtrap costume. Because at the
And
end when
this,
he
and
shows,
this,
yes, at the end he shows up as Springtrap, and then he takes off the mask and like it's him, and then they treat it like it's like this big reveal. I still kind of wish that they had shown him maybe like as Springtrap, like little flashbacks here and there. I think that would have been kind of fun.
hmm.
So I do think it kind of sucks that they didn't show him that much. But still, I still think he did a good job. The short amount of time that we got, I thought it was very fun. I liked it. I think he did really good as like the villain. And I think that Josh Hutcherson did a really good job as Mike Schmidt. I mean, he's like the main
Hmm.
character. And I thought, I mean, there's scenes where like, yeah, he's with like the girl that played like Vanessa, for instance, that she wasn't like a very strong actor.
Hmm.
And like when he's like on doing like the scenes with her, like his acting feels like really strong compared to like her acting. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like he's just is a good actor. So I feel like he and Matthew Lillard, I feel like they really brought it compared like some of the other people, like their acting was more like meh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least that's pretty good. It's pretty good that the two main actors really brought it, that they really did a good job. I thought that was really cool. Um, the animatronics, I thought they looked fine. I thought that the set looked really cool. And then,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because I watched it and then like right after I saw that, oh, because that's gonna lead into like another thing. Right after, Matt Pat, he has a cameo in the movie, which is like pretty fun, I think. And
Oh, it was so cool.
he actually did like a little video where he talked about like,
Him being
oh,
it.
like yes, I was in the movie, letting the cat out of the bag, and he was kind of talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, he says that they built the whole restaurant, like the whole set. They built it inside an abandoned like Home Depot or whatever. And yeah, like definitely like the set is really cool. Like it actually looks like an abandoned restaurant. And so like yeah, it's because it was an actual set. It was an actual location that they built. So I thought like that was really cool. I thought the animatronics looked pretty cool. Um I thought that like the two main actors did a good job. I thought that the way they adapted because the games have always had like this weird lore. Like it's not straightforward at all. It's always like you have to piece it together and you use it, you figure it out almost like ARG style or whatever. And there's all these like things that you have to do to like figure stuff out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of like investigating and deep diving and stuff. That's like the whole reason why Matt Pat, like his channel exists, because he like reveals all the stuff, right? Like he's really dug deep into it, and he's kind of like with the help of the community made his videos, right? And so for how weird the lore is and how it's not very straightforward, I thought they did a pretty good job where like once again they made it really like, okay, there's this restaurant and there's this guy that he owns the restaurant, and he lured these kids into like the backstage and he murdered them by stuffing them into the suits, and the restaurant got shut down eventually, and he didn't want to let it go though, and so he's kind of in hiding. And when he sees that Mike Schmidt comes into his office because he's like the career counselor, you can tell that he recognizes the name, and said since he had like kidnapped his brother, we don't really know why, but he had kidnapped his brother years prior. I guess he sees it as like a way to like tie up loose ends or whatever. So he has him work there. And, Mike is there and he's having these dreams because basically the spirits of the kids are like reaching out to him, and he's kind of uncovering what happened and, all that stuff that we know from the games. I thought they did a pretty good job. Like you said, they simplified it. He's obviously what in the games, I think at this point, it's like, no, Mike Schmidt from like the first game. He's also Michael Afton, who's like the son of like William Afton himself and a bunch of weird stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's the reason why the animatronics go after you, because they think you're William, and yeah, it's stuff like that.
Yeah, and here they simplified it. We're like, no, it's just that the connection William and Mike seem to have is that William kidnapped Mike's brother years ago and killed him. And that's why Mike is tied to him. And they explain that the whole reason the kids are going after him is because they like don't, the animatronics don't like trust him, I guess. Like they don't like people being in their restaurant. But then once they see that, oh, he has that younger sister who plays a big part, like they kind of back off. But then we kind of see that, oh, they want him to like keep bringing her around because they want to make her like them. And it's because William has like manipulated them. He's kind of been using the kids and manipulating them, and they don't remember that he's the one that like did stuff to them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I thought it made sense in the sense of like the movie that yeah, they really like cut some stuff down, they shuffled stuff around, but it makes sense because I feel like in the end it kind of leads to the same thing. William Afton killed the kids. He lured Mike to like work there and stuff like that. And at the end, he does get trapped in the suit and is basically
Springtrap.
it becomes Springtrap, and it's hinted that there's going to be more movies, right? So like more of the
Mm-hmm.
lore. So yeah, I mean they really like simplified it, but it's basically I think like the core story still. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think lore wise, I think they did all right. I think they simplified it, but it works. And I thought the story was fine enough. I mean, it makes sense for what it is, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say, but yeah, I thought what they had was fine. Um yeah, they definitely, made it obvious there's going to be a second part or more. I think that
Hmm.
said they want to make it at least three. And yeah, the cameos, I kind of never went back to that. The cameos were pretty fun.
Oh, they
Um,
were.
yeah, Matt Pat, he has a part where he's like in a diner and he's like this like waiter, which is like really fun. And it's like really short, but I thought it was like, oh, it's kind of cool that we got to see his little part or whatever. And then the other one is 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐬 Kenshin. He's the
Hmm.
he's this taxi driver, and it's actually his part's actually bigger than you think it's gonna be. Like
That's funny.
they show him like somewhere in the middle that he kind of gives a ride to the girl Abby when she's kind
Hmm.
of being lured by the animatronics back to the restaurant so they can make her one of them. He has like a little part there. It's really funny. And then he's actually in a post-credit scene sort of thing too.
Hmm.
So I'm like, damn, the fact that he has like two like pretty good scenes, they're like really like pretty well acted. Like he did like a really good job. They're like really fun. I really liked his both parts. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they were really funny.
Yeah, so the two cameos were fun. It sucks that the third cameo they were gonna have,
It was Markiplier.
yeah, they were supposed to have Markiplier, but then apparently it's because he's busy with that own movie that he's doing.
The Iron Lung one, yeah.
Yeah, apparently he was gonna be the security guard that dies at the beginning.
Hmm.
And I'm like, dang, that would have been really cool if he was the other security guard that got like killed at the beginning. That would have been a pretty fun that would have been a pretty fun cameo, to get the three of them, and that would have been like a pretty nice role. So it kind of sucks that we didn't get to see that.
Yeah, that would have been really good.
Yeah, so that's too bad. Um, but yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the movie enough. I thought it was fine. Is it the best movie ever? No, but it's not. I don't think it's as terrible as people are saying. Like now that we kind of have revealed some of the stuff or whatever, like yeah, I just thought it was like really like ridiculous. Like one of the people I saw on Reddit, they're like, um, no, actually it wasn't Reddit. I think it was like IGN
Of
where
course, it was idea.
where it's like, oh, it has too much like story and not enough of like the security camera thrills.
Bruh,
And it's like, well,
it's a
yeah,
movie.
because no crap, they're not gonna like have the main character just sitting in front of screens the whole time. Like it's not, that's the thing. It's not gonna like recreate the movie because that would be like a really weird movie. He's just sitting in front of screens the whole time, right?
Yeah. Oh my
Because
God.
yeah, right. Like, and then other people too, like in our like the runs in Reddit, people are like, oh my god, like yeah, someone's like, it doesn't do a good job of capturing like the dreadful atmosphere of the game. And I'm like, bro, did we play the same game? It's basically a resource manager with jump scares.
That's it. Yeah.
Like a lot of people, again, that's where I'm like saying, not that I'm not saying it could have had a bit more horror, a bit more like, it could have had some more, oomph to it. But people were acting like, oh my god, like if the games were this like scary, edge of your seat experience. And it's like, dude, it's a resource manager with some jump scares. Like it literally, it's you're in the room and you're clicking back and forth on the screens. And like, you know what I mean? Like people are acting like
Yeah.
the game is not that deep. Well, I mean, it's deep in the sense there's like a lot of like hidden lore, but you know what I mean? It's not like it's this like huge, oh my god, like you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people are really overblowing it. It's like calm down.
Yeah. Especially if they're saying that it's like, oh my God, it's like it's supposed to be like this scary like video game series. I'm like, brother, like the only game that I've seen people say is like the most creepiest was like, yeah, the first game. But like that's usually like the people who played it the first time, and that's like back when they were like 9 years old or something. Most people now usually aren't, they don't freak out that easily, you know what I mean? Like even me, I've gotten kind of used to the series in general. And even I know like when a jump scare is gonna happen, and like yeah, like it's very expected stuff, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb that they thought it was gonna be like really scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not a scary series. It just has like jump
Jump scares. That's
scares.
it. It's just here
Like
and
it
there. Yeah.
yeah, it just takes advantage of the fact that you're like busy doing the stuff and then like, oh no, a thing just really loudly yells in your face. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
And it
not
catches you off guard. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like horror. Like something that I think would be like a good example of like actual like really creepy and actually like really the scares are like really good and it's like it's not PT, you know what I mean? It's not, what would have
PT's crazy.
yeah, like PT, like that's actually creepy because there's all these weird imagery, like the fetus in the sink, and
Hmm.
Lisa's always watching you, and like there's that weird figure that watches you from like the second floor, and I mean not that that's also Lisa. I mean the weird like tall figure that's like in the hallway and then disappears. I mean, like that's like a creepy atmosphere.
Hmm.
That is like that's more atmosphere, not just jump scares, you know what I mean? Like that if you're gonna make a movie, that's where I would be like, okay, like
That's how I
replicating that would
do.
be hard, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I don't know. But still, we're good. Whatever. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it. Seems like you did too. I know there's plenty of people have liked it. Um, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to say the people who didn't like it, like, oh, you're wrong, or you like have to like it. But I'm just thinking like you should go in with a certain expectation. I feel like some people are having these expectations that just aren't realistic and don't even make sense for what the series is, you know what I mean? I guess
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
what
I
I
would say.
noticed.
So
Hmm.
it's like someone I saw someone use it earlier for a game. It's this YouTuber I like, and he was playing this game called Guilt.
Yeah.
It was that little horror game that was a Stadia exclusive, but now they kind of ported it to other systems, right?
Yeah.
And what he described it as is that it's supposed to be kind of like imagine if it was like Silent Hill, but for the audience that watches Goosebumps. Because you know how Goosebumps is more
Mm-hmm.
of like a kids centered thing, right? It's more like obviously it's not gonna have like a whole bunch of like gore and like over the top like dark themes, right? Like
Hmm.
it has like a lot of like really what like WTF moments, and it does have like its twists and turns and like body horror, but still for like a kid audience, right?
Hmm.
And so basically, this YouTuber was saying that, oh, Guilt is supposed to be like a mix of like Silent Hill and Goosebumps, where yes, it has like those Silent Hill esque, like, oh, you're dealing with like trauma, and you're dealing with like, things that prey on like your fears manifest, but it's still like kind of toned down. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what I would say here. This kind of that going with that expectation that it's gonna be like a horror thing, but it's more like toned down. You know, what I mean, it's not going to be scary, and that's what I'm saying. And it never was meant to be. All these people that are acting like I can't believe it's like kid centered. Like, yeah, no, duh. Like, who do you think was going to go watch it? Like, who do you think, like I said, buys all the merch? It's kids. They were never going to make it this like. I don't think they were ever going to make it this like R-rated, super gory, over the top movie.
Yeah, even the director said themselves, they were like, we're not making a rated R version. Like, I think there was maybe like a few scenes that they said they cut and they so happened to be gory or some weird thing like that. But even then, they even said they're like, yeah, no, we are never releasing like a rated R version because there is no need for a rated R version. They even said it themselves. They're like, we never had that intent.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Hmm.
So yeah, so once again, just to cap it off, I enjoyed it I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought I did a fine enough job. Best movie in the world, no. But does it deserve all the hate it's getting? Also, no. I think it's one of those things that, check it out. It's not like a must
Hmm.
watch, but I think it's worth checking out at some point. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too.
yeah. Speaking of which, I guess the other thing that I really wanted to touch upon, we've talked about the podcast and our hopes for it, what we've enjoyed about it. We talked about, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's the big thing going on right now. To kind of, circle back to what we did for the first ever podcast. If you remember, our whole theme of the week or whatever was like Halloween media or whatever, because it's like the Halloween season. And I was gonna say maybe we could kind of talk about that, like okay, Five Nights at Freddy's. it came out just in time for like the Halloween season, and it's kind of spooky and whatever. I don't know. What are some other things that you enjoy for this time of season? What are maybe some recommendations or some must watches for the audience? You know what I mean? Like what? I don't know. What do you have in mind?
Um, I feel like some stuff I would recommend is because is mostly Tim Burton movies, honestly. Now I think about it. Tim Burton movies
Oh,
especially.
yeah, that always makes sense.
Like I know Corpse Bride, The Nightmare Before Christmas, that's both like a Christmas movie and a Halloween movie, if you think about it, depending on who you are, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, the other one's Sleepy Hollow, right? That's one of them or no?
Yeah, but that's like you mean like the live action one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's not an animated thing like the other two, but that is also like a Tim Burton movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that Edward Scissorhands. Um, what's another one? Oh, Frankenweenie.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Thinking
that one's.
Weenie.
So
That's
mostly those are like animated ones, but those are pretty creepy. So I'm mentioning those. Um,
yeah. Beetlejuice. Don't forget Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is
Edward Scissorhands.
which I mentioned. Yeah, yeah. Um, Another one that's pretty good is now I feel like I am leaning outside, the Tim Burton stuff because I did mention Frankenweenie, but I think like Frankenstein, like any of the adaptations have been pretty creepy, The book is pretty creepy. Um, I'm trying to think of another thing that's actually really creepy that I can recommend.
All right, well, you're talking about those, and you're thinking about that. Since you mentioned like Corpse Bride and you mentioned Night Before Christmas and like Frankenweenie,
Hmm.
like that sort of stuff. That made me think of Coraline. Coraline's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that too. Coraline's a good one too.
Yeah, so all of
Hmm.
all of those Tim Burton stuff you mentioned, I think Tim Burton stuff's pretty good for the season. And then jumping over, like I said, out of the scope of Tim Burton, like Coraline's pretty good. Paranorman is pretty good.
I was gonna mention that actually. I was gonna mention that.
Yeah, Paranorman's pretty good.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially like the more like the stop motion stuff's like especially.
They do really good with stop motion when it comes to
Yeah, and I don't know. Something
creepy
about
stuff.
stop motion with like Halloween season just seems to go together so well too.
Hmm. It really does, yeah.
Yeah, so all of that stuff, I think that really fits. Um, I think we were talking about it a bit off camera earlier, today. Um, it's like a comedy, but it still works. Ghost Stories,
Yeah,
especially the dub, right? You gotta watch the dub.
the
The
dub is
Ghost
perfect.
Stories anime, especially the English dub, it works because it's supposed to be horror themed, but the dub just makes it like hilarious. Like it
You
just
can't take it serious at
it does
all.
not take it serious. It is so funny. Like for anyone who doesn't know like the history of that for whatever reason, yeah, Ghost Stories is this anime that they made, right? And apparently like it wasn't like I guess it wasn't doing like I forget if it's like a myth or not, this part. But I think supposedly it wasn't doing so well in Japan. And so they had licensed out like a few different anime to like this studio, right? And basically, Ghost Stories was one of them. And they kind of just told the studio to just do whatever you want. We don't care. Once again, I believe that's what happened. It could be a myth, because sometimes stuff gets, over exaggerated over time. But I'm just saying what I remember. And since they kind of told them just do whatever you want, the dub studio were just gonna like have fun with it. And so they basically made like a shit post, slash like abridged version of the anime where
Hmm.
like the dub is not serious at all. Like everything is just like crazy, or like the main character, she comes from like a family where her mom is like from a long line of like they always like talk about because she has like a short haircut. They're like, oh, like she's like this like lesbian or whatever, and like being a lesbian gives you like superpowers in this universe, or some dumb thing like that.
Yeah, they add a bunch of dumb shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the guy that hangs out with her, like the jock character or whatever. They made him like
Mm-hmm.
this huge like perv or whatever. And then like the girl that's supposed to be kind of like almost like a shrine maiden slash like she's like in tune to spirits. They made her like this like hardcore, like fundamentalist like Christian. Like
Oh
she's always
yeah.
talking about trying to convert people. And then another
Mm-hmm.
character who's like the kind of like the more nerdy guy. They made him like super Jewish, and she's always like talking crap because he's like not Christian and stuff, which is like really dumb.
Yeah.
And then like the little kid that he's always like they're just making fun of him, and he's always just like he talks like in a weird voice,
And then
and
he'll
like
just
there's
talk gibberish randomly.
yeah he'll like start talking gibberish and stuff, and like the cat that hangs out with them because he's supposed to be like this demon in a cat body, and he's always just like just totally like shit talking to kids the whole time, and like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. They have all these like random jokes and gags, and like there's like this really famous, this popular one that they've had online, like a popular clip about how there's like this girl that she talks about like the rabbit,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, he ends up becoming like this monster, and then she at the end goes like, "I know that we can't be together, not because you're a rabbit, but because you're black."
Yeah.
It's just like so much dumb stuff. And like the little kid we're
Yeah.
talking about, like he talks gibberish. There's a part where he's just like crying, and she's like, "Why are you crying?" And he's like, "Because these pajamas are gay." Because he's wearing these little
Yeah.
like cow pajamas. And there's like really dumb stuff. It literally feels like an abridged series.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
oh my god, it's hilarious though. It's like so like over the top and inappropriate, but like super hilarious. Like Ghost Stories is perfect if you want to watch something for the season, but something that's more like comedy. You know what I mean? Like that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my god. Um, yeah. So like, yeah, basically it's just like all the Tim Burton stuff, all of those, you know, like claymation stuff, slash like stop motion stuff. Ghost Stories is like a really fun anime to watch for this season. Um, yeah, I guess since you were talking about like Frankenstein and like those adaptations, I guess any of those like Universal monsters really works, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Mummy movies, you know, because Mummy is one of those, you know, Universal monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Mummy, the old ones are still like pretty fun to watch. The one from like the 90s, they're more actiony, but like those are like really good. The ones with like Brendan Fraser, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like those movies are still really good. Honestly, I think they still really hold up, and they still kind of, you know, they kind of fit the aesthetic, right? Of kind of like a ooh, it's something that if you're gonna have like a Halloween party or like let's watch sort of thing with friends, that would work. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I don't know. There's just like so much stuff, honestly. But if I had to like get like shot like you know some big ones, it would be like yeah, all the Tim Burton's like a lot of the Tim Burton stuff, a lot of the stop motion stuff, the Universal monsters, and then like Ghost Stories is like an anime that I think is really it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Can
That's
you
a
think can you think of any other like anime maybe?
that's like horror related.
Yeah, like horror related ish. Mm,
I don't know what's called.
because I feel like other ones you might have already talked about. That's why.
I know one. I never seen it though, so this is where it gets kind of weird by mentioning it anyways.
Yeah.
Angels of Death.
Oh yeah, that one was all right. I watched it. It was all right. It's not like one of like the best anime ever. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
weird-ish, but it kind of fits because yeah, it's kind of like this girl. She wakes up and she's in this building where they want to like kill her or whatever, and she kind of has this like dude that's protecting her because she kind of says that she promises that he can like kill her or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like they had like there's this weird relationship where like okay, no one can kill except me, so like let's like take down the rest of the people in this building. They're a bunch of psychos. That fits. Yeah, that definitely
Mm-hmm.
fits.
And I was gonna mention because it's more like they just kind of show it. It's animated now, but it's mostly like a manga thing. The Junji Ito or Ido
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Hmm.
He has some really he's like
Crazy stuff.
pro at making like all of that unsettling like body horror and like weird horror that
Hmm.
doesn't make any sense and stuff. And it's true, they have started like adapting his stuff
Mm-hmm.
but both like his manga and like the animated stuff that has to do with his stuff, that really works. Like, yeah, that's some really good stuff. I agree.
And there are two because this one, The Promised Neverland and Parasite.
Oh, okay. Parasite's really good. I would say it's like on the border of horror and like more actiony, but I
Mhm.
definitely think it works. There's some stuff that's definitely like, ooh, kind of. I think that works for sure. Yeah, the anime version's Parasite the Maxim,
Mhm.
and then Promised Neverland again. The first season.
Mhm. Because then from
Second
there, yeah,
season is not very good. It's really shit the bed. But that first season does a really good job of being this like, survival slash horror thing. It works really well. I agree.
yeah. And then I found another one because I remember this one definitely. I was trying to look for it. Serial Experiments Lane.
Oh, that is like a really weird one. That's like more of like a psychological, very sci-fi thing, but it definitely works because it's very like trippy
Mhm.
and surreal and stuff. That definitely works.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna say. Like I definitely think of that too because like you get to it's more psychological, you know, but it's
Hmm.
still very like even then, you know, it's like really like yeah.
Yeah, that definitely works. Like that one is like so weird. It's like really
Hmm.
trippy, really weird. That one works for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. I think that's a pretty good list, honestly. I think
Yeah, that's a pretty good list.
that's a pretty
Yeah.
good list. I kind of wish I had another comedy one to throw in there to like kind of balance out that ghost stories is the only one, but I can't really think of anything else. So I think that's fine. But there you go. That's still a pretty wide range. We have stuff that's like true horror, stuff that's more like sci-fi horror, stuff that's more action horror, and even one that's more of like a comedy horror. So.
Hmm.
Um, what else? Let's see. We've touched upon like some anime slash manga. We have, animated stuff. We have, some live action stuff. Mm, I don't know. I guess that's a pretty good list, honestly. Oh, I know. The one we haven't touched upon, games. What about some
Yeah.
games? What about some horror games? I'm trying to think of stuff we haven't talked about on the podcast previously. Let's see. What are some games that work? Hmm.
Gregory Horshaw.
Oh, that's a good one. Though last year we did that. That's another thing that was disappointing. This year we wanted to do the more of like a spooky, what do we call it? Like our spooktacular or spooktober series or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, we weren't able to do it this year, which kind of sucks. The next year we definitely
Have to
would
do it.
really
Yeah.
would really have to prepare for it.
Hmm.
And we'll see if next year we can do the full 31 days because we did 13 days. Then this year we had talked about, oh, let's try to do like maybe the 31 days. And if that doesn't work out, at least the 13. Unfortunately, neither one worked out for various reasons. Yeah, I
Hmm.
hope next year we can do like a 31 days thing again, but we'll see. But anyway, getting back to like what you said, yeah, we played Gregory Horror Show last year, and that definitely works as like a horror um game. That definitely works. It's really good. I really like that game because yeah, it's really
Hmm.
creepy. Like the whole atmosphere, like you're stuck in that hotel, and yeah, there's all of these weird inhabitants, and it works. It's a pretty good it's pretty good and has a unique style too. I like that game. That definitely works as like a horror, spooky, October season sort of game. I like that. That works.
Another.
Um,
Oh,
I was gonna say should be really obvious because we were just talking about the movie adaptation earlier, but Five Nights at Freddy's works.
it's
It's
still
fun.
part of.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's fun to throw on, even though it's more of like jump scares and like that sort of thing. But I think it definitely works. I would count that. I would throw that on to like a list of stuff to check out.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking of is Slenderman as well. I was thinking of that.
Oh, that's like an OG. I mean,
Hmm.
not an OG in the sense of horror games because those have been around forever. But I mean, it's
Hmm.
like an OG in the sense of like, oh, it's been around for a while and it was like very popular for like Let's Plays and like that sort of thing. So that definitely works.
Hmm. Um, we've mentioned, the Resident Evil and Silent Hills. Those are like obvious too, as well.
Yeah, we talked about those before. That's why I didn't
So
really.
yeah, those are very obvious. And then there's Ao Oni, which I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's kind of like Corpse Party, which we also played.
Yeah, because it's
Uh,
a
yeah, it's like a game. What do you call it? A
RPG maker game.
RPG maker game. There we go. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, those work. Stuff like what's it called again?
Ao Oni.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was saying it right. Like Oni, Corpse Party. Those definitely work. That they're kind of like RPG maker games, but they're still pretty effective. Honestly, they're pretty good. Um, the Clock Tower series works.
hmm
Fatal
hmm
Frame is a good one.
Amnesia is a good one too.
Amnesia's pretty good. At least I think it was like the first game, maybe the second game, and after that it got kind of eh. But like
Yeah.
those first those first couple of games or whatever, I think they worked pretty well. Trying to think of stuff we haven't talked about, but that would maybe work. Ooh, the Splatterhouse series is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
They're more like actiony, you know what I mean? But still has like a horror setting, and it still has like elements of like horror and like running around like a haunted mansion sort of fighting monster sort of thing. I think that works. I think that's a pretty good one.
Um.
Um, let's see what else. Trying to think. Man, there's just so many. I'm just trying to think of like very good ones. Ones I definitely recommend. You know what I mean?
hmm
Oh, what was that one that we played? Well, again, we played it last year. That it was like a text adventure, and that stuff would happen in the house you were
Oh
playing.
my God, I
That
forgot
one
that
was really good. That one was really unique.
that one you had me play it. Oh my God, that one was weird.
Oh my
Oh
God,
my
what was
God,
it called?
it was like the what's the name of the game where you have to cross in the like the I forget what it's called, but it's kind of reminds me of that text game. Te- oh my God.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was called. I don't know if I'm gonna remember. Dang, I don't know. If you have another one you want to mention, just say it while I try to see if I can remember or look up what that one was called. Because that one was a really unique one, especially for being like a unique style. Because I found it was called Stories Untold.
Yeah.
Stories Untold was a pretty good one because yeah, that was really unique. Or it's like you're supposed to be playing like a little text adventure game, but you're playing it like on like a TV that you can interact like with the TV and like stuff around you, like in the room around you. And then it was really interesting because like as you would do certain things, like certain stuff would happen, like the lights would go out or like the environment would change. That was a really good one. That was really unique. I
That
like
one
that
was
one.
it reminded me of yeah, like the I forgot what the game was called, but yeah, like when you would play the game, it kind of reminded me of that one game where you have like a family and you're crossing like you're crossing over different obstacles,
Oh, you mean Oregon Trail?
like the Oregon Trail game. It kind of reminded me of that, but like you're playing it, but then crazy stuff happens around you as you're playing it. That's what kind
Mm.
of gave me that vibe.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause
Uh,
that's what those games are, like little text adventure games where you have to like
mhm.
put, you usually like either put in like little simple commands or you put, like it has like four options. You put like one or two or whatever.
hmm
Yeah, I thought of another one, or I guess you can say like a little section of them. Any of the games made by Puppet Combo.
Oh, Puppet Combo makes crazy good horror games.
Yeah, because I just remember that like last year we played Blood Wash, the one about
Oh, that one was
you're in
crazy.
that like weird like what do you call it, laundromat after hours, and there's like a killer on the loose and stuff. Yeah,
hmm
stuff like Puppet Combo is really good.
Puppet Combo stuff's really good. One I thought about because I know that people say it was like really crazy. Was Dead Space. That I remember.
Oh, yeah, especially like those like first two were really good. Then the same thing where like the third one got like a little too actiony and it was kind of weird.
Hmm.
And then like the remake was like also like really good. I feel like it kind of went back to like what people liked about it, you know what I mean? But yeah,
Hmm.
like the Dead series as like a whole, I would say it works. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think we've talked about it because we've talked about like it comes from the genre, like Castlevania, all that, but we've never talked about Metroid and like the Metroid games, how creepy those games can be,
Oh
actually.
yeah, even though those are more actiony, they're like a bit different. They still work though. Like
Like they put a
Metroid,
lot of emphasis
yeah,
on
because it's a big emphasis on like isolation and weird monsters you have to fight, and some of them work, especially some of like the older ones, I would say.
especially the 2D games, honestly, I
Yeah,
feel.
they kind of work where like they're not really horror, but they're kind of like horror adjacent, where like they
Hmm.
feel like kind of unsettling and you're on this like planet all by yourself. And I would say that kind of fits a bit. Like not exactly, but it's like horror like adjacent-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I was like, usually the feeling of isolation and then the music being really like, how do I say, like making you feel like this isn't like a good environment to be in, usually is like, yeah, no, like that's like very horror-ish, you know what I mean? And to some
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I like
And then
that. That's a good one. Yeah.
um and then what's something else? Dang, I'm starting to forget.
It's just there's so many different ones, you know. I mean, there's so many to
Mhm,
talk about, but I don't know. I think that's fine. I think that's a pretty good list. You know, honestly, we threw out a lot.
we did.
I think that that's a lot. I think that, like I said, we have, live action stuff, animated stuff, anime and slash manga, video games, different movies. I think that's a pretty good little list or whatever. I think it's pretty good.
Hmm.
Because yeah, there's just so many when you think about it. Like there's a lot. And like I'm saying, we've played and talked about some of these like in the past. And now that we've mentioned so many of them, it's just like, yeah, I hope that in the future, for instance, we get to do some of these, kind of transition to like kind of wrapping up here. We're celebrating the 1 year anniversary. I'm pretty happy
Hmm.
with what we've done and what we've covered. And yeah, I hope that we get to continue just covering stuff like this. And I hope that in the future, kind of jumping from podcasts like the channel itself, I hope that we do get to, maybe play some of these that we've talked about.
Hmm.
I hope that next year maybe we can do the, Spooktober, special. And I hope that maybe we do play some of these games that we've mentioned. And I don't know. I really hope that maybe in the future I can cover some of these manga, for instance, or some of these anime, like little reviews or whatever. Because I know I've always kind of wanted to do more for the channel, like more retrospectives, more like reviews and stuff, but it's just kind of hard because of like editing and copyright and like script writing and stuff like that. But I definitely hope
Hmm.
that maybe I can cover some of this stuff on the channel. I think that'd be nice. That'd be cool. But I guess only time will tell. But you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good episode. I think that we talked about, the channel itself and the podcast and, different things for this season or whatever. So I don't know. I think that's pretty good. I think it's a good place to kind of, start wrapping up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just been a good time to anyone who's like listened for this last year. Thank you. We would be nowhere without you guys. We're doing it because we want people to listen and we people to like enjoy and hopefully follow along with some of the stuff that we talk about and check it out. And all we can hope for is that, hopefully we can keep doing this for much longer and hopefully we can like keep building up the audience and keep building up those interactions and yeah, stuff like that. That's kind of my wish.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Legend of Jonathan, for being my co-host, you know what I mean? And for being here, week after week. There's only like 1 week that I just decided to do it for myself because you were kind of out and I was like, yeah, I'll do it by myself. That's fine. But besides that, you're always here. So it's kind of cool that we've been able to do this together. So, thank you.
You're very welcome, man. I'm
Yeah,
really
and
happy to, be a part of this,
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's been a pleasure. And
Mhm.
like I said, I hope that we have many more of these to come. And yeah, I hope that with this out of the way, hopefully the channel returns to a bit of more normacy. Hopefully, uploads will start popping up again. And next week, I think the plan is to try to go back to our usual thing where we're going to see what we do, talk about that. Hopefully, there'll be some new stories to discuss, and back to some recommendations. Maybe we can think about like a channel to recommend since it's been a while. Maybe that'd be a good place to
Mhm.
start. But yeah, hopefully soon we're back to our normal programming and all that. You know what I mean? Both in
Yeah.
terms of the podcast and the channel. But yeah, until then, thank you to everybody that listened. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it was an interesting podcast. We will try our hardest to be back next week. But until then, everybody take care, and we'll see all of you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.